What's up guys, this is Jeff from Sorta Healthy, and today we are talking about 5 mistakes that personal trainers make and what you can do to not make those mistakes yourself. My 5 tips today will be most useful for new trainers, but even if this is something you've already been doing for a few years, I still think you'll find a lot of value in what we'll be discussing. I have personally made a lot of the mistakes that we'll be talking about today. Others I've seen other trainers make, some of which ruined those other trainers' careers. I have no sources, but I've been told the average trainer doesn't survive in the field for more than a year. From what I've seen, this is probably true, but I don't think it has to be. On that note, let's go over the mistakes that you should avoid to be successful as a personal trainer. As always, before getting into our scheduled content, all I ask is that you consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Without your support, these videos don't exist, and you liking and subscribing is the best way to help us out. Thank you very much for the support, everyone. On with the rest of the video. Our first mistake, and this is probably the most important one, is that trainers often give up way too soon. So even if you click off of this video early, don't do that because all the points that we're making today are important. At the very least, I want to leave you with this bit of info. If your dream is to be a trainer, don't give up soon. Keep pushing. The beginning is going to be hard. Even if you're an all-star trainer, it's likely going to take you 1 to 2 years to book up enough to where you're making a respectable living. In those 1 to 2 years, you need to be incredibly consistent as well. You have to show up with a very positive attitude, ready to go outside your comfort zone every single day. It's going to feel like a brutal, uncomfortable grind in the beginning. Some of that goes away pretty quick though, once you get some traction and start making progress. Because you almost certainly won't be making enough money right out of the gate as a trainer, I suggest that you do training part-time to start, while also maintaining a more stable position at the same time. So training would be your side job for a while in the beginning, and there's nothing wrong with that. Even though maintaining 2 jobs can be rough and stressful, I think for most people, this is going to be the optimal way to book up in the beginning. Back to what we were talking about before. Booking up in the beginning, it's hard and it takes time. I think once you realize this and accept it, it does get easier. When you're first getting started out, try and work at a few different places, see how they do things, and see what type of clientele they have. Try and look at everything like a learning experience, and be ready for the grind. Instead of going into extreme detail on booking up as a trainer, I recommend that you check out these 2 videos. This video tells you how to book up in a gym setting, and this one explains it while running your own business. Enjoy! The second mistake that trainers make, and this is a big one too, is misunderstanding the job. Personal training may be one of the most misunderstood positions out there. And of course, memes like this one come to mind as I am telling you this. Unfortunately, because this line of work is so misunderstood, many people get into personal training not having any idea what the job actually entails. Personal training, more than anything else, is a customer service job. The most important parts of your job will be offering good customer service to your clients and communicating effectively with them. You will most likely not be working out with your clients. You will most likely not be doing glamorous things on a day-to-day basis. You will be in near constant communication with your clients, and you will be helping them to achieve their goals. For most of your career, you will not have good working hours. Once you're established, the hours of training are the worst part of the job. Your schedule will be dictated by your client schedules, and most of your clients will have typical jobs. This means that you'll be training most of your clients before and after work, and of course this results in weird working hours for you. You will not be setting your own hours, at least not really in the beginning. Again, your hours will be determined by your clients more than anything else. For the first few years of doing this, you probably won't really be able to pick and choose clients. In the beginning, you'll likely work with anyone who is willing to give your services a shot. Later into your career, you'll have more say in all these things like who you work with and what times you work. Essentially what I'm saying here is that training is hard. In some ways, it's really f***ing hard, actually. If you think that this job is going to be easy and stress-free, you're dead wrong. At least not if you want to do this at a high level and make a good living. You'll have to work really hard for that. So contrary to the beliefs of many, personal training at a reasonably high level is not low stress. You can't really choose your own hours, especially in the beginning, and it's not a glamorous job. Personal training is a grind that rewards hard work. My next mistake ties in pretty closely with my last one, but I think that it's different enough to grant its own spot on this list. And this mistake, unlike the other ones, actually makes me kinda mad. Call this a 2-part mistake, but in my mind they're pretty similar, so we'll just put them together. The mistake that I'm talking about here is when trainers only want to work with a specific type of client, or they try to train all of their clients just like they would train themselves. Okay, so kind of a lot to unpack here. Why is it a mistake to try and train only one type of client? Well, to be honest with you, this is totally fine later into your career once you've established a niche for yourself or an area of expertise. When you're first starting out though, you're not going to have an area of expertise. You're going to start out as a total amateur, and you're quickly going to see how much your certification really didn't teach you. So the idea that you're just going to pick and choose clientele in the beginning based on their goals or whatever is not only a little bit pretentious to me, but it's also just plain stupid. You really should work with whoever is willing to work with you in the beginning, assuming that they're not a terrible person. End of story. Most often I hear this from people that want to train athletes or power lifters or bodybuilders. Look, I think it's great if you want to focus on that in the long run, but when you first get started, work with anyone. Trust me, you'll be a much more well-rounded trainer in the long run, and you'll actually be able to make a living. Because at the end of the day, almost everyone who buys personal training is focused on weight loss. Most people need to lose weight. Very few, relatively speaking, are interested in bodybuilding or powerlifting or being an athlete. The other part of this mistake is trying to train your clients the same way that you would train yourself. I think that everyone, you, me, my clients, your clients, we should all do certain things when we're training. We should do efficient workouts that are composed mostly of compound movements, and we should be balanced in our approach to fitness. This means that all of us should train our upper bodies, cores, and lower bodies somewhat similarly. We should all also do some form of cardio, and we should all also do some form of mobility work too. We should all also warm up and cool down. The list continues. Despite all of this, you should not train your clients the same way that you would train yourself. You should train your clients based on their goals and their experience, which are almost never going to completely line up with your own. Most of your clients are going to be total amateurs when it comes to exercising. Most of them aren't even going to like exercising. Don't go into your sessions thinking that your clients are going to want to be doing the same workouts that you're doing. You're going to be very disappointed if you think that way. Most of them want to see you for the least amount of time possible to achieve their goals. This isn't anything against you, they're just most likely not that into fitness. I could go on and on here, but just remember they're paying you to help them achieve their own personal goals. Most likely they're not going to be passionate about exercise like you are, so even though your own personal workout routine may have some things in common with your client's workout routine, make sure that their own routine is unique to them. My next mistake that personal trainers make is that they don't take the time or put in the effort to become better communicators. Like I mentioned previously in this video, your ability to communicate effectively and offer good customer service is incredibly important. It's almost certainly the most important part of the job. You can't succeed if you mess this part up. And I know it isn't sexy or cool, but it doesn't matter. If you offer anything less than really good customer service as a trainer, you probably won't be successful. So knowing how important this is, you would think that it would make sense to improve these communication skills over time. This is true, but it's something that not enough trainers work on. Of course, the best way to work on this is to keep working with different clients, get exposure to different scenarios, goals, personalities, etc. I think that getting exposure to these different people and scenarios isn't really enough though. You also need to look at every single client interaction as a rep of an exercise that is going to make you a stronger and more valuable trainer. Your outlook on working with these clients is very important when it comes to becoming a better communicating trainer. When you get that asshole client who's a thorn in your side every week, and you will eventually get clients like that, use your interactions with those clients as practice. You're literally getting experience in dealing with a person who is hard to work with, and believe it or not, that is valuable experience. Like we've previously mentioned in other videos, and even a little bit in today's video, it's important to get outside of your comfort zone early and often to be successful as a trainer. Get used to striking up conversations with members at your gym. It might be awkward at first, but you will get better at it over time. The key in my mind is asking good questions. And sometimes basic questions can be good questions. I mean, heck, you could ask someone what their plans are for the weekend. Or if you see them holding a shaker cup, you could ask them what's in the shaker cup. The list goes on here. I think when we're talking about effective communication in training sessions and in consultations as well, it's pretty important to actually make lighthearted jokes here and there. You want to make these interactions as fun as possible. I'd also recommend inserting some self-deprecating humor into these conversations too. Don't be scared to make fun of yourself a little bit. It will help lighten the mood in these awkward situations. View all these first encounters as reps that will make you a more effective communicator. You can even take this outside of your place of work as well. You do not need to be a social person to pull this off. I myself am an introvert naturally, but because I have prioritized this stuff over the years, I have gotten pretty good at it, and it's a huge part of what's made me successful as a trainer. On to our last mistake that trainers make, and this one is being unwilling to learn or not having an open mind. I wouldn't think that this would be a huge problem for most of you, because here you are learning about the job, but in the industry as a whole, this is definitely a mistake that many trainers make. They assume that they know far more than they actually do, and they close themselves off to new ideas. Your baseline certification from NASM, ACE, or anywhere else will teach you the bare minimum amount of information so that you won't sound like a complete idiot when you're talking to your clients. Having any of these certifications doesn't make you an expert, it just means that you've done the minimum amount of work to get started. Most of what you'll learn in doing this as a career will be from doing the actual job, seeing how different clients respond to different exercises, nutrition ideas, different programs, All of that stuff is incredibly valuable. And of course, there really is no substitute for it. This is why I try and convince trainers to work for someone else for a little while before they go off and do their own thing. You'll have no idea how much you really don't know until you've been doing this for a decent chunk of time. If you're trying to learn the trade of personal training, but also trying to run your own business on top of that at the same time, yeah, it's just almost certainly not going to work out that well. Of course, exceptions do exist. So anyways, try and keep an open mind and realize that experience is your best teacher. And I suppose this is the part where I should mention continuing education as well. I'm always a little bit hesitant to bring it up because some of it is really good, but most of it is complete trash. The fact that most of it is a waste of money is part of the reason why I did create this channel in the first place. Precision Nutrition and FMS are the best secondary certifications in my experience, and this seems to be the general consensus among people who've been in the field for a while. Once you get past your main certification and those other secondary certifications that I just mentioned, there does seem to be a huge drop-off in quality. Some of you may disagree with this, but in my 10 years of doing this, that's what I've seen. I'll be reviewing other certifications on this channel soon though, so we'll be figuring out if there are other good ones together. Like I just mentioned, I have been doing this personal training thing for a good while now, and it does sound a little bit cliche, but I do still learn something new almost every day. The iceberg analogy is way overused these days, but it totally works for what I'm describing here. This is what training appears to be, and this is what it really is when you decide that you want to make a career out of doing this. Knowing how complex it can be, I hope that you choose to keep an open mind and keep growing along your own personal journey. And that, my friends, is all that we have for today. This topic was recommended by someone in the comments of a previous video. Do you guys have any topics that you want me to cover in a future video? Let me know down below if you do. Also, if you have any other good mistakes that trainers make, feel free to share those down below as well. As always, if you haven't liked the video yet or subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so because it does help the channel to grow, which does allow me to keep making sorta healthy content for all of you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, stay sorta healthy.